we're getting more and more research coming out about creatine being neuroprotective, showing that it can actually help prevent things like Alzheimer's and dementia, helps with neural firing. So just for like longevity, yes, I think it has a place. Um, Creatine it's always had a little bit of a stigma, because nobody outside of my world really understands creatine.
Right.
They're like, is that a steroid? No,
Well,
it's not a
naturally,
steroid.
you're curious.
Yeah, yeah, like it's not a steroid. Um, it's a thing that your body makes naturally. Um, we just don't make a whole lot of it. Again, unless you're eating like multiple pounds of red meat a day, you're not getting enough natural creatine that you would get in one scoop of a supplement. Um, but it is the most researched and the most documented supplement in the world.
Welcome back to another episode of Beyond Small Talk, where real conversations lead to new perspectives. I'm your host, Chris, and my guest today is Abram Arwood, physical therapist and sports physical therapist with 10 plus years of experience in health and fitness. Abram, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
In a recent post that you made on Facebook, there was a quote that you had where it said that one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves as athletes is that we have this constant need to like push ourselves constantly, whether it's physically or mentally.
Yeah.
How does that affect our potential?
So, as an athlete, we're constantly feeling pressure to get better, be chasing the next skill or the next level of competition. And really, all we're doing is just driving. Think of it as a car engine. And if you're driving that engine in the red all the time, it's eventually going to break down. Luckily, our bodies have this fun way that a machine doesn't do, is it can actually adapt and recover and heal.
Right.
But it doesn't heal if you don't give it time. So if we're constantly going as top effort, top end intensity all the time, and we never actually have this recovery session, if we never have the time to let the body rebuild, and you can get to the physiology of it. Like, let's say you go for a long run, it takes the collagen in your tendons, in your muscles, it takes that stuff up to 36 to 48 hours to get back to the baseline it was before you went on a run. So, it takes time to rebuild. Well, you have athletes who are running every day, they're never rebuilding, and eventually you're just starting to break down instead of build. But because of social media, because of pressure, and it's worse now than it was whenever I was a kid, there's constantly pressure of like, you have to be competing all the time. You have to be practicing all the time. We see it in youth sports such as baseball, youth soccer, travel basketball, all of these sports of like, if you're not playing, then somebody else is playing and they're getting better than you, which isn't really the case, because everybody has to have time to build a foundation of just foundational strengths, foundational basic movements. And if they don't have that foundation, you're just kind of like you're building a house on shifting sand. If you want to make a biblical reference, it's like it's going to eventually crumble down.
Right.
But because you only ever see people winning, or they're out there doing the hard workouts, that's all you ever see on Instagram is the highlight reels of people doing awesome things. What you don't see, especially at the pro level, is that they did that one time in a year. And they spent the last 12 months getting ready for that one event. But people don't realize that. So they're constantly pushing, trying to chase a level that's just not sustainable, unless you actually back it down and take care of your body.
So how do you adapt from that mindset, to learn your body in that recovery stage versus having to constantly keep going to try to prove it to yourself?
Right. It's hard. It is so tough, especially if you're trying to do it by yourself. Like, this is where a coach who knows what they're doing, or a therapist, or somebody can come in and be like, and have that outside voice. Because if it's just us pushing ourselves, well, most people who go into athletics, who do anything hard, are doing it because they either want to prove to themselves that they can do it, or they want to prove to the world that they can do it. And so they're constantly push, because a lot of times we have a I'm not good enough mentality. So athletics or hard work or anything like that becomes part of our identity. So we're constantly trying to push to prove that we're something else. We're better than how we perceive ourselves. So that's when you need a coach, or you need a sports therapist, or somebody to be like, hey, we need to back it down. Just yesterday, we took a high school baseball athlete, and it's like, you've been dealing with this elbow issue for 9 months, and it'll get better. And then you're back and forth. And we just shut him down. It's like, you're not playing for the next 2 months, or else this is going to turn into surgery, and it's going to take a year to recover. So pick your poison on how you want to go about this one.
Would you rather sit out for a month and a half or not play for a year?
Exactly. And I've had that conversation. The post came from, we've had this conversation probably 6 times in the last 4 days of people who are, it's just the nature of the year and the schedule with certain sports. It's like everybody's peaking right now, either because a sport is just starting, or it's full on competition season, or they're at the end of some sports. But either way, it's like everybody's kind of at that I'm falling apart phase. And we have to decide, you can miss 2 weeks or you can miss 2 months. Which one do you want to do? And I always tell people, I'm like, I will be the last doctor that tells you to don't do something. But if I tell you don't do something, I expect you to trust me that this is a bad idea.
Right.
So, yeah.
I had a previous guest who used to be an ex-personal trainer. And I mean, he still, to this day, he wakes up at 4 a.m. every day and works out every morning.
Right.
And I'm like, that's got to be hard to keep up.
The discipline and the consistency is hard. But I would even say he's probably even like, yeah, I'm not maxing every day. Right. I'm not, 80% of my workouts are what I would consider a fairly easy, low-level workout. But it's like, you have to learn how to, survive so you can train another day, survive to play another day. You don't want to ruin an entire week's of work, the workouts, because you burned it to the ground on Monday. And that's where having a good coach, a good trainer, whatever, like sometimes we just need outside voices, or else we're going to be like, I'm not going hard enough. So,
well, yeah, you don't need to do that 5K, energy level every single day. Sometimes you can just go out and walk, but you still got that repetitive pattern.
You're not getting less fit. You're not becoming a worse athlete by backing it down for a day or two. Physiology doesn't work that way.
Yeah, let's stay on the topic of recovery and rest. Why is it so important that, like, when somebody's recovering, that they kind of dictate and record that process?
So as far as like, whenever you are recovering, recovery is not fun. It's not pretty. It's not sexy. It doesn't look good to anybody else. Nobody's impressed by how well you recover. But by actually like recording it, keeping track of it, one, it keeps you honest, and it keeps you from skipping steps. But it's also good. It's good to, you can look back and see how far you've come. Of being like, hey, this workout that I just did, because we all repeat workouts. It's like, the last time I did this, it tore me up for 4 days.
Right.
Well, because I've done the recovery and I've done the work, I can do this workout and I'm barely sore the next day. And it shows you like I'm doing the right work. So you can kind of go back and have your own barometer and your own measuring stick and see how well you're doing. But it also, especially for youth athletes, or even with my professional athletes up here, what we do on the offseason is like, we're learning what recovery methods work best. Because some people love an ice bath, some people love foam rolling. There's 1,000 different recovery modalities. you're going to figure out what works best for you.
Right.
Because if you record it and be like, I did this, I stuck with it for a week or two, nothing really happened. Great, probably didn't work for you. Now you know I don't need to waste time and energy doing this thing if the juice isn't going to be worth the squeeze. Because we're constantly, especially as athletes, we're constantly figuring out how to fine tune a very complicated system.
Whether it's athletes or, still just active adults, how important are those rest days, and what should somebody be doing in those days? Not necessarily just sitting on the couch, but you're still resting your body.
Mm-hmm.
So how could you do that efficiently?
Right. Well, first you said athlete versus active adult. I'm going to butt back a little bit and say, if you have a body, you have the potential to be an athlete, whether you call yourself one or not. A lot of people, they'll be like, I'm not an athlete, I don't compete. I'm like, you get up, you walk, you chase your grandkids. I'm like, I have a 3-year-old and I'm chasing her through the house all the time. Some days that's the most athletic thing I'm doing. But have you ever tried to chase a 3-year-old through the house? Like,
they'll outrun you.
Yeah, you're an athlete. So it's like we try to instill that mindset of like, the only thing keeping you from calling yourself an athlete is you. So treat your body like an athlete. And it kind of helps with the mindset of like, oh, I'm going to treat this like a professional. I'm going to be very professional and very, how would I say, very cognizant of how I take care of my body. Because if you don't see it that way, well, it's just like anything else. You're like, I'm not an athlete. My body's not important. I'm not going to take care of it.
Yeah.
But as far as like your quote unquote rest days, your recovery days, sometimes it literally is you just need to park yourself on the couch and stay there. Those days are few and far between. So don't take that of like, I definitely need to do this. Those are more whenever you're running into what's called overtraining, where literally you're breaking down your body faster than you can rebuild it, and you just need to shut it down. Other days, it's going to be like an active recovery. It's like, instead of hitting the gym and going hard for 2 hours, let's take the dog for a walk. Go play with the kids in the backyard. Go, do something active. Get outside. If it's raining, it's like clean around the house. Like, don't sit there and think, woe is me, I can't do anything. Like, you're still moving your body. Because that's still going to get your heart rate up a little bit, just causing circulation, which is going to pump blood through the system. Pumping blood into a system pumps inflammation out. That's what we want. And then other big parts of recovery is nutrition. We have so many people who, I like to say, they're trying to fuel their body they're trying to fuel a Ferrari with vegetable oil. It's like you're not feeding yourself what you need. So sometimes a good recovery day is like, I'm going to go eat a steak and I'm going to just hang out and take the dog for a walk. And it's like you're getting all the protein in you need. You're getting some active movement, and that's what you need. Just don't do too many of those.
Well, I love that you talked about like, the food and the dietary stuff. I've got 2 examples of like, some supplemental.
Mm-hmm.
You got your basic Gatorade protein bar and your core power.
Yep. So
like in the recovery process, what's the best practice for those?
The biggest thing, there's used to be a lot of, especially whenever I was coming through undergrad, there was a lot of discussion about timing of like, when do you get your protein in? Is it 2 hours before a workout? Is it 2 hours after a workout? Now we know it doesn't really matter. It's just getting it in. Basic nutrition guidelines say 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. What that means is, say, if you're 200 pounds, you just minimum level of protein is 100 grams of protein a day. And that's just to be a semi-functioning human being.
Right.
Which is not enough. Like, that's maintenance level. If you're an athlete, either trying to build muscle, maintain muscle mass, it's easier to say 1 gram per pound. So at 200 pounds, you're trying to get 200 grams of protein a day. And it's tough. If you've ever tried to, because I'm 220, And so my goals are 200 to 220 grams of protein a day. If you've ever tried to do that, short of eating like 2 12-ounce steaks, it's going to be a day. It's kind of hard to hit. So like how you have the supplement of like the protein bar, the core power, you would look at it, that's 46 grams right there.
Yeah.
For even somebody my size, I'm a fourth of the way there. So supplementing helps. And tracking it, there's apps like MyFitnessPal, which will help you, because we know that anytime somebody's estimating their protein, they're always underestimating it, or they're always overestimating. They'll think, oh, I'm getting enough, I'm getting this. I did this exercise with a lady today, and I was like, how much protein are you getting a day? And she's very smart. She is a PhD. She teaches at the med school here in Johnson City. Very intelligent. And she's like, I don't know. And she told me everything she eats on a normal day. And just some back of the napkin math says we're getting 52 grams of protein a day.
Which, when you think about it, that's like nothing.
That is nothing. That's what you had in your hand right there.
Right.
And she's like, I don't know how I can possibly get more. I'm like, well, we're going to find a way. Because your body literally doesn't have the building blocks it needs to repair itself. For mindset reasons, we always think of our body. Everybody wants to think of their body as like a building or a machine, which means they think once I build it, it stays there. Well, you're constantly churning. You're burning through stuff. So think of it like a building, but somebody's coming through all the time, taking a brick out here, a brick out there, a brick out here. So if you don't have other bricks to put back in, it's not too long before that building crumbles down.
Well, that goes back to foundation and that recovery. If you're not recovering with the protein or the supplements, you're basically just burning anything your body's got left.
Yeah, well, that takes, you said recovery and needing the protein. So like we've talked about like active recovery, we've talked about the exercise, and then like the need to have the protein. Protein's an easy one. There's other macronutrients like fats and carbs. And like, if you get your protein in, you're probably getting everything else in too.
Right.
And nobody's ever gotten really fat on a bunch of protein. Like, it just doesn't happen. But then the next part of that is sleep, because just as a society now, because we have smartphones, because we have a lot of reasons to stay up at night, and then we have jobs the next day, so we're waking up early in the morning, nobody's getting their sleep. We need at least typically 8 hours of sleep a night. You sit there and think about it, like, when's the last time I got 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep? And well, guess when your protein synthesis is? Guess when your body takes the protein that you just ate and uses it to rebuild the muscles that you tore down? When you sleep.
Well, that's why it's so vital to have that window of actual recovery.
Yep. Because if not, like, you could be eating, you could be doing all the right things, but you're skipping the recovery part. You're wasting time and energy. Like, you're building a 3-legged stool on 2 legs, and it's just going to fall over.
Well, beyond like strength training,
Mm-hmm.
do you think there's an actual need for like creatine, even for like endurance athletes?
I love creatine. I've hit it all the time, but I'm definitely a strength power athlete. We're getting more and more research coming out about creatine being neuroprotective, showing that it can actually help prevent things like Alzheimer's and dementia, helps with neural firing. So just for like longevity, yes, I think it has a place. Creatine it's always had a little bit of a stigma, because nobody outside of my world really understands creatine.
Right.
They're like, is that a steroid? No, it's
Well,
not.
naturally, you're curious.
Yeah. Like it's not a steroid. It's a thing that your body makes naturally. We just don't make a whole lot of it. Again, unless you're eating like multiple pounds of red meat a day, you're not getting enough natural creatine that you would get in one scoop of a supplement. But it is the most researched and the most documented supplement in the world. And it's the most used one by athletes. So it's great for strength training. You'll have a lot of endurance athletes who are like, I don't want to take creatine because it holds a little bit of it makes me pull in a little bit more water. It makes me feel heavy. But that water goes into your muscles, which lets them fire harder and faster. Is creatine going to be super helpful for like an endurance, like an ultra marathoner, a big endurance runner? No, not really. Is it going to be helpful for a 5K athlete? Potentially, because that's going to help you have the kick at the end of the race to, hit that last 100 yards, hit it harder, or get up hills or anything like that. Creatine's more beneficial in, think your strength athlete, your high rocks athlete, your CrossFit athlete, where it's shorter time domains.
Right.
But it's also helpful, like let's take a runner. A fast runner is a strong runner because runners never want to lift. That's why they run. Anybody who, and I always say anybody who runs for fun is a little touched in the head and usually running from the voices in their head. So,
that's kind of like my escape, man. That's what I do.
No, dude. I've got some athletes. I got one guy who's an ultra runner, and we'll do full on ultra marathons, no headphones, nothing, just going with listening to the wind. And I'm like, how do you do that? I'm way too ADHD for that. So
I started doing 5Ks last year and just become addicted to it.
Yeah. Everybody always talks about the runner's high. I've never experienced it. Maybe one day. I've never run far enough to worry about it. But it's like, we know creatine is going to be better for like short bursts of like, let's do a 2 months training cycle to try to build up some strength before we go into race season. That sort of thing. So you can kind of build up your base. That's where creatine is going to help you kind of jumpstart that a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So what is one of the more common mistakes that people make during the recovery process?
The biggest thing is going to be not trusting the process. And they're like, they don't go all the way through. They start feeling a little bit better. And they're like, yeah, I'm good. Let's full send it again. It's like, no, you were so close. And it's like, if you could have just finished this, like actually go through the process. And that's especially when we're talking about like multiple week processes of like, we're doing a long taper, we're doing a rebuild, like think of an off season. It's like, no, go all the way through the steps. They're there for a reason. That's why you, especially in my world, it's like, that's why you come see somebody like me to guide you there. Because then if you just go too fast, you skip the last couple steps and you're going to be able to maintain until you can't again. And it's like, we could have prevented all of this. So the biggest thing is it's not being patient. Like, be patient, trust the process. It's like, you want to get out there, but a little bit of patience is going to go a long way if you're doing it right.
Well, yeah, patience is big. I mean, it don't matter what you're in, but you see all these big athletes, especially in the NBA now, these big stars tearing the MCL, ACL.
Yep.
What is one of the more common yet avoidable injuries you see in athletes and active people?
As far as common yet avoidable, because you mentioned ACL and MCL, the dirty truth is all of your like ACL prevention programs, they don't work. It's like everything's really, the science is like, it's about the same of whether you do the program or you don't. It might help at like lower level, like youth athletes, because it exposes them to basic movements that they're not getting in normal play. But crap happens. And sometimes crap happens to famous people. And that's when everybody's like, oh, is it the turf? Is it the shoes? Or is something happening? It's like, no, stuff just happens. It's like, you're playing it. I've torn my ACL twice. Stuff just happens. Avoidable, it's going to be things like biceps tendonitis, impingement syndrome through the shoulder. It's going to be, honestly, a lot of low back injuries are very avoidable with just basic strength training. Shin splints in runners. These things are really simple. That knee pain you feel in the front of the knee whenever you're a runner, these things are very avoidable. You can knock them out super quickly if you are working with somebody who knows what they're doing, with some expertise. And you can get ahead of it and be like, hey, 2-3 sessions with a good physio, we're solid. I now know how to take care of myself for the rest of my life until something else acts up. But like this thing, I can manage. And it's super simple. It's just getting people to buy into that. And also, on the physio side, is like finding somebody who knows how to treat this thing.
Right.
And, they don't really teach you how to treat athletes in school. It's something you kind of figure out afterwards. So,
Well, you were mentioning some of the avoidable ones, but what's some tips or tricks maybe to avoid some of these things as we're going about it?
biggest thing, and it sounds like you're beating the same drum all the time, but strength is protective. Have you ever heard of the name Mark Ripito?
No.
So he's a famous strength and conditioning coach. And he has my favorite quote of all time, which is stronger people are harder to kill.
It does make sense.
So it's like there's more to the quote, but the basis of it is stronger people are harder to kill. That doesn't mean you have to be out here being a power lifter, squatting 800 pounds. But basic things is like just be able to squat your body weight, not like put a bar on your back and sit down and stand up with however much you weigh. If you can do that, you are dropping your injury rate by huge percentage points. So it's not that hard. It's pretty basic stuff. It's just sometimes we're scared to go to the gym, or we're like, that's not my thing. And then people are wondering why they're getting hurt all the time. So strength is protective. And then going through nutrition is huge. And then the recovery, it's like, be strong, fuel correctly, recover like you're a professional athlete, like recover like it's your job.
Right.
A lot of people like think of it like, I'm going to train hard, I'm going to eat hard, I'm going to recover hard. If you do those 3 things and keep them balanced, you're going to be a dang good athlete.
We've talked about several different pillars of recovery, diet, protein. But if you could get everyone to stop doing one exercise, what would that exercise be and why?
Jumping out of airplanes, just because I'm scared of heights. No, I hate the whole, like, these exercises are bad for you. There is no such thing as a bad exercise. It might as well be a wall. Like, there's no such thing as a bad wall anywhere. But a bad exercise is one that is done with poor technique, poor coaching of like, we're doing way too much intensity, way too much volume, which is how many sets and reps you're doing. Like, you're doing too much of something too fast, or faster than the human body can handle,
Right.
or at least your human body can handle. Because again, it's like, I work with freaks all the time. I have multiple patients who they're like, an easy workout for me is a 600-pound deadlift. I'm not going to go ask a 120-pound ultramarathoner to try to go do that.
Right.
But the person that's doing the 600-pound deadlift, they spent years building that up. I'm also not going to ask that same person to go run an ultramarathon, because they're not going to make it past the first mile. So it's like, there's no such thing as a bad exercise. There's just bad implementation. And that's the biggest thing.
Are there influencers out there that you've seen these techniques and you're like, quit showing it like that?
Every day. Every day. And if you're going to ask which ones, I'm going to be like, go to your Instagram, like, Reels page.
Yeah.
And just be like, those, everything. Like, somebody is going to have bad technique. Somebody's going to have, like, what I would consider like incorrect reasoning behind a movement. And part of it is like, you just have to realize that influencers, their job is to produce content.
Right.
And sometimes certain content, whether it's true or false, generates clicks, and it makes them money, and that's all that matters. But because of, and we deal with this all the time, we had a big internal discussion about this about a year ago within Physio Lab, about how to basically be like, hey, don't get your medical advice from an influencer. Like, just not a good idea. Find somebody who actually has expertise in the area, does what, practices what they preach, practices what they treat is what we say, but actually does it and has experience doing it. Because so many people are following, Instagram influencers who it's like, you're 22, you may have a bachelor's degree in exercise science, great, but you just generated content, but because you know a little bit more than I do, I'm going to assume you're an expert. And sometimes it's not even that much of expertise. And it's like, no, like actually find somebody who's been doing it. I've been training since I was 14 and I'm 36 now. I'm like, I've literally been doing this and, trying, like experimenting with exercise, learning, and then I go off and get multiple degrees. I'm like, I've been doing this for longer than some of these influencers have been alive. Why are we talking to them other than they make good content and it looks good and it sounds good on Instagram?
Well, just like you alluded to, this content, culture we're in, if the influencer would be, tag up with somebody, have these people in there, it allows them to be a little more credible, but
yeah,
you're just showing an example and hoping people catch on.
Yeah, that's all you're doing is you're just hoping and praying. And people are desperate for information. I really think like our generation, the generations behind us are going to be the healthiest ones that have ever seen the face of the earth so far. Because like there is the availability of information, the understanding why it is important. And let's be honest, we've all watched our parents and our grandparents age not so gracefully. And we're like, that's not going to be me. Like I've got a little girl and I'm like, yeah, I want to be able to pick her up for as long as I possibly can. If that means she's 30 years old and I can still pick her up, fantastic. So it's like we've seen that and now we can do it and we know it can be done. So we're constantly trying to find like who's a voice of authority, who's somebody that can give me good information. But most people out in the general populace, they don't have a good enough filter to be able to filter out the nonsense.
Right.
So then we're like, okay, you have really good video quality. I want to look like you. So I guess I'm just going to do what you're doing and let's roll with that.
Well, if I'm going to have somebody on, like yourself, I like for somebody that, educated, experienced, does it firsthand, and can speak to the truth of it.
Right. There's a thing called the sniff test where it's like some of these things just don't smell right. Like this smells too good to be true. There's something shady here and I can't quite put my put my finger on it. And it's like we try to teach our patients is like, does this pass the sniff test? Does this look too good to be true? If it smells too good to be true, it probably is. So, yeah.
When you have patients that come in for, various injuries, what is the biggest thing that's kind of holding them back from getting over that plateau of kind of recovering?
That's so multifactorial. Good question. Thank you. It depends on everybody, and everybody's a little bit individual. Sometimes it's like, hey, this is just a really weird, wonky injury that doesn't exist anywhere but with you. So sometimes like you are a one of one, way to go. Most of the time it's the simple things. It's sitting there and it's like, how's our nutrition? How's our recovery? Let's actually look at your training. If you are training, of like your exercise, it's like, and then you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, you are burning the candle at both ends with a blowtorch. No wonder you're falling apart. And then other times it's like, hey, let's sorry if there's background noise.
No, you're fine, man.
Then there's other parts. It's like, let's actually build some habits. It's like, you haven't been in the gym in a decade. Let's start getting back into basic stuff, basic movements. You don't have to go to the gym. We're going to find exercises that you can do at home that you feel comfortable with, but I need you to do it. Anytime I give, homework exercises to patients, I'm like, hey, I didn't give this to you for my health. This is actually for you. It's the same as like if you go to your doctor and say, Doc, got the sinus infection. I've got all this green snot coming out of my nose. I feel terrible. And they give you an antibiotic, and you go back 2 weeks later, doc, I'm still sick. And what? It's not working. It's like, did you take the medicine? No, I never even got it filled. Like, well, what do you want me to do for you? Like, this is stuff. It's designed to help you. We don't give it to you for fun. It's just getting people comfortable with moving. Sometimes we're really hesitant to because it doesn't feel good. It's like, yeah, these things are going to hurt a little bit, but the price of not doing it is higher than the price of doing it. So you just kind of have to meet people where they're at. Thankfully, in my job now, it's like everybody I work with is super highly motivated. They're like, I'm coming to see you because I want to get better. And I think you can get me better faster and more efficiently than anybody else. So that's it. It's like, but finding what motivates people. Most of the time it comes down to motivation and discipline. It's like, how can I flip that switch to make you want to do this?
Which is more important, though, in your opinion, motivating somebody or proving they have the discipline to carry it out?
I think initially it's going to be motivating them. Like, and then it's just like pushing a rock downhill. You have to push it to get it started, and then it builds momentum. Discipline builds momentum, but you got to have a little push to get going. And that's where like the soft skills of like talking with somebody and figuring out what makes them tick. It could be, a new grandmother who's like, I have no interest in going out here and being in the gym. I don't want to go run 5Ks. I don't have anything to do with that. My shoulder just hurts and I want to stop hurting. They're not here because their shoulder hurts and they want to stop hurting. They're here because they can't pick up their grandbaby because their shoulder hurts. And you have to help them figure that out because sometimes they haven't figured that out themselves.
Right.
Like the pain just became enough of a pain point that they decided to do something about it. But then then you start tying it back. It's like, hey, Phyllis, we're going to go out here. We're going to pick up this weight. I know you don't like picking up weights. It's fine. We're going to do these exercises. I know you don't like it. It's fine. Because the thing about kids, they get bigger and they get heavier. And you're going to be picking that grandbaby up for years to come. And as soon as you can get them to figure that out, hook, line, and sinker, they're like, let's go. Do whatever we've got to do. That baby's not going to pick themselves up.
Well, yeah, they may not want to be a star athlete, but that underlying issue, one that's creeping in,
yep,
that's the one that's where they're like, yeah, I could use that because I want to do X, Y, and Z, and they can.
Yeah. The clinic I'm in here, we're in a CrossFit gym, so if there is background noise, they're having CrossFit class. We have a guy here. He won't care. His name's Gary. He's mid-70s. He's here every day of the week because coming in and working out means he's going to be turkey hunting for a lot longer than he's going to keep turkey hunting for years to come. He's like, I literally come do this so I can keep turkey hunting. And I'm like, get it done, man.
What do you see a bigger, like, is it more of a youthful thing or is it more of an older trying to stay youthful?
Everything. It comes in waves. I mean, literally yesterday, I saw a 13-year-old baseball player, and I saw a 70-year-old grandmother who just had a knee replacement. And it's everything in between. I had a guy today who has been on American Ninja Warrior. He's 74. He can still do 20 unbroken pull-ups. And he's like, you'll know the secret to not getting old? Don't grow up. It's all mindset. It's like, keep doing what you love to do. And he's like, I want to still be able to do pull-ups. I want to be able to do ninja stuff. I want to do all of this when I'm 80 and 90. I'm like, well, I want you to keep doing it. So let's go. So it's mindset. Yeah.
And props to him to keeping that mindset, especially his age, because let's be real, a lot of the people that are in those age range, they're not moving around that good anymore.
No, I say father time is undefeated, but it's like, you've got to fight against it as long as you possibly can. We have this thing, you've heard of the term lifespan, right? Like how long you live?
Yeah, of course.
Well, there's health span. It's how long are you healthy? So it's like, I may live to be 100, but if I stop doing the things I want to do, if I stop going on hikes, if I stop exercising, if I stop enjoying my life at like 70, well, that's just 30 years of you just either wishing you were young or wishing you were dead. And it's like, I'm much more concerned about, if we can get you to 100, fantastic. But I'm like, how many years of that health span of you doing everything you want to do for as long as you possibly can? How much health span can we add? How many years to your life can we add that way? And that's so much more important to me than like, we just kept a body alive for however long. No, I want to keep a person alive, keep a soul alive, to keep them going and enjoying life the way they were meant to live it.
Well, yeah, if you're not enjoying your time, even if you're here till 80 or 90, if you can't enjoy it,
who cares?
Yeah.
Now it's just suffering for the sake of suffering. So,
well, I like to leave all those who listen to the podcast with a final thought from my guest. What are some common habits you see in people that are negatively impacting their long-term health?
The biggest ones are like alcohol, smoking. Those are the easy ones. Those are easy things to fix. It's the sugars, like just sitting there and like eating our feelings on the couch at the end of the night because we've been overwhelmed all day. And trust me, I do it too. I've definitely housed a few bags of chips. But those are the big ones. It's like it comes down to the nutrition, and then it's like I don't want to go exercise because I don't like how I look in exercise clothes, or I don't want to be around other people. So then it becomes like other bad habits are like comparing ourselves to other people. It's like nobody cares. Or at least in the people in the gyms and around the people I associate with, it's like you may have never set foot in a gym in your entire life. And the second you set foot in there, we're going to high five you. We're going to welcome you. We're going to be like, let's go. How can we help? I mean, I've had a patient who has lost 140 pounds in the last year just from he took a leap and he's like, I want to go do it. He's like, I'm tired of living this way. So the biggest habits are just, it's that. It's like you find the habits and you just get stuck there instead of admitting that you need help, letting your pride get in the way, because pride's going to slow you down, and just go ask for help, find somebody that can help you, and get in and go get better, get healthier.
Just being able to get over those stigmas and self-judgments.
Get out of your own way.
Yeah,
just get out of your own way.
Abram, thank you so much for stopping by the podcast. It's been great.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Chris. Thanks for having me.